Hello, everyone. Okay, so today we just talked about introductions rather, and today we're going to be looking at conclusions instead. So I found some information that I've kind of put together for you, and we're going to go through it slowly. Now, conclusions, similar to introductions, they're probably one of the most important aspects of a good essay. In particular, if when we did our entrance examination when I was about your age, we were advised that because the people marking it were reading so many essays within an amount of time, that they'd often just go straight to the introduction, skim a little bit through the body, and then look at the conclusion. So you need to be very aware of both of those elements of an essay. They're not just, I suppose, the bread of the sandwich with the good stuff in the middle. They're actually really, really important aspects of your essay. So we're going to look at how to conclude an academic essay. So first of all, you want to restate the thesis by making the same point in other words. So you're basically paraphrasing. So go back to your thesis, and as I said, it's this circular motion that we're going throughout our essay. So each paragraph refers back to the thesis statement, and your conclusion, I know that you can't see my movements at the moment, but it's kind of your conclusion. You want to punch the person in the face with your statement, and you want them to walk away going, wow, okay, I understand what you were saying. I either agree with you or I despise what you say, but you want them to have a reaction, and you want them to walk away thinking that this was a memorable, well-stated argument. Then you want to review your supporting ideas. Again, paraphrasing, think about your supporting and the strongest supporting ideas. So for that, summarize all arguments by paraphrasing how you proved the thesis. Okay, so look at your evidence and the strongest aspects of the evidence, and then you can connect that back to your essay hook and relate your closing argument to the opening one. So as I said, it's just this circle that we're going in, all right? So we're going from our introduction and thesis statement, and then through our body, and then back through the conclusion to our introduction and thesis statement. So it kind of clears everything up, and you're almost summarizing your entire essay. But the way that you do it is very important, the types of words that you use in order to finally verify your argument. So for some students, the conclusion is the most difficult. For me, I think the introduction is the most difficult, but others might find the conclusion harder. I believe that because you've already got the evidence and information there, it's easier to create. You're not creating anything from scratch. However, I do suggest maybe writing 2 or 3 different conclusions and looking at which one actually is the strongest. Play around with it a little bit. The same as, I don't know, so writing is also a work of art. The first time that you paint a painting, it's never going to be perfect. You do it again and again until you get exactly what you want. I am very, very happy for you to write 3, 4, 5 introductions, 3, 4, 5 conclusions, and send them to me. I can give you some feedback on each of them, tell you which ones I think are better or which ones are worse and why, or I'm happy to break a couple of the information up and put it together so you can see what you could create using your own words, okay? It just means putting a little bit of extra effort in so that you really develop this skill, and it's going to help you in the future, as you know, when you're doing all of your essays for university. The more that you practice now where you're in high school, the better you're going to be in the long term. When I went to university, I hadn't really been taught how to write essays, and it was a skill that I developed over that time. But unfortunately, in my first year, it meant that I didn't get the highest mark or the marks that I wanted to. By the second year, I was getting 80 to 90% because I developed that skill. So what I want to do for you guys is to make sure that you have that skill before you even walk onto the university, all right? So introductions, conclusions, really, really important. So a concluding sentence of your essay isn't less, but sometimes even more challenging to write than its introduction. So what is an essay conclusion? Okay. Simply, it's the last paragraph of your essay, logically, or a college paper, summarizing the thesis and the arguments. So it helps your reader see why your essay should matter to them. So again, you're just punching him in the face with that last final statement. It's like if you watch Endgame, the conclusion when they were at the funeral of Iron Man, it was just pulling everything together, everything that had happened in all of the other Avengers films, and it was something that was sort of heartbreaking, but you understood all of the films were really, truly about family and sacrifice. Okay, and so that's what your essay is doing, is now that you've read all this, can you see that I'm right? Or can you see that you're wrong? In other words, your essay conclusion should answer the question, so what? So give the audience something to think about after they finish reading your essay. You want them to think, so for instance, if you're doing animal testing, are they thinking, oh, you know, maybe there is good in animal testing, or it's abhorrent and we should not be doing animal testing. You want them to walk away with a feeling, a sense of thinking more, or you really want to get them to go and talk to someone else about it as well. A conclusion should give completeness to your paper. So it's finishing it off. It's what I like to call the icing on the cake. It's definitely not about introducing new ideas. I have seen some of your writing, some of the students in 12A that have introduced new ideas at the end of their papers. You do not do this. A conclusion is what it is, a conclusion, okay? It's you do not introduce any new ideas, any new evidence in the conclusion. Please avoid doing that. So key aspects to remember. A strong essay conclusion restates the thesis. It restates it, not rewrites it. So you can't use the same words. You're basically plagiarizing yourself, which you don't want to do. A strong essay conclusion consists of a minimum of 3 sentences. It should be around about 5% to 10% of your essay. But again, please don't worry about the word count either in your essay or in your paragraphs. We can sort that out later. Word count is just so unimportant at this stage of writing your essay. So when you're doing your first draft, you just want to get it out and get it done. And then you push back and push back and push back during the editing stage. I am going to do a short video about editing as well, so you can understand what the process is from the beginning when you've planned your essay and you've written your essay to how to edit it down to be the right amount of numbers. And finally, it concludes thoughts, it doesn't present them. So it's kind of tying the present up in a nice little bow. Okay, so here's a useful little thing from Purdue OWL. Feel free to check that source out. There's so many things on the internet that will be able to help you with your essay conclusions. So getting a better job is a goal that I would really like to accomplish in the next few years. So that's restating the thesis statement. With this example, they are using first person. They're using it for a college application. I don't know if any of you are deciding to go to America or Canada, but those countries often require you to do a college application essay, which would be written in first person. However, and I'm looking at you, Jeremy, that does not mean any of my essays get written in first person. This is just to show you what you need to be putting into a conclusion. So this is a really basic one. So first your thesis statement, then you're summarizing the subpoints, and then a final expression or impression or expression, either way. The final sentence, that is the power punch. It's the king hit, okay? That's the one that you want them to drop the mic, so to speak. That was me trying to use DJ lingo, yay. Okay, so the last sentence should be powerful and it should leave the reader going, ah, and wanting to discuss it and want to think about it more, okay? So we'll work on that in a little bit more detail. So, conclusion paragraph outline. So it says about, as I said, don't worry about the amount. When it says about how many sentences, don't stress about this. All I want you to focus on is what the particular, what should be involved in each part in each word process. So first, a conclusion starter. It's a sentence restating your thesis statement in other words. So if you wonder how to start a conclusion, just rephrase your thesis statement, just put it in a different way, use different words. You guys are good at paraphrasing now, I hope. I know that we've done a lot of it, but it's not rewriting it, it is restating it or rephrasing it. A summary of the main parts of the essay. So as has been iterated, A, B, C, so the 3 points that you've got in your essay, you can really put them home. If you've had opposing points in your essay as well, you can include that. While some may believe that animal testing is cruel, inhumane, and should be stopped immediately, evidence suggests ... Okay, so you've acknowledged that you've looked at the opposing point of view, and then you've restated what your evidence is, which supports your thesis statement. And then finally, a concluding sentence, which is the final sentence of your essay. Provides a sense of closure, connects the readers back to the introduction, and as I said, really, really importantly, it makes the reader stop and think. Okay, so you want it to be dramatic, not an opinion, but give them, make it memorable, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. So a conclusion starter, a summary of the main points, and a concluding sentence. So here is an example. Restate the thesis by making the same point with another word. For an example, the thesis is dogs are better than pets, better pets than cats. Rephrase, dogs make the best pets in the world. There's no need to have cats. Really, you're talking about that dogs, are the most awesome, which they are, by the way, even though my dog died. Anyway, then we can have a look at giving a little bit of support here. Dogs are cleaner, better at showing affection, and ultimately easier to train. So 1, 2, 3, these are likely 3 separate paragraphs. And instead of rewriting the entire paragraph, they've said, okay, that paragraph 1, we talked about cleaner, paragraph 2, we talked about showing affection, and paragraph 3, that they're easier to train, okay? So when you look back at your essay, you can have a look, paragraph 1, what was the main idea? 2, main idea. 3, main idea. And you can put those into 1 or 2 or 3 sentences to restate your arguments. Then finally, you're going to connect back to your essay hook. And as I said, so this is the bit when you're going to pack a punch. For instance, they've said, change your life for the better, go get a dog. Okay, so it's just a nice final statement. It's like the same as when you are doing your marketing campaign. You want to say, so come and buy this now, or donate money, save the pandas, or whatever it is that you're going to do. You want something, one hard hitting. Okay. Okay. Transition words are really important as well. So people often say in conclusion, to sum up and previously stated. You can use them, but it happens a lot, all right? So I would suggest using, don't use so, never use so. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay. So the structure of essay conclusion is restate the thesis, summarize, 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 and then concluding thoughts, okay? So you never want an argument or an essay when the person goes, well, so, like, why do I care about what you're talking about? And that's what the conclusion is going to make sure they know what's going, okay? So some strategies that you can use. As I've talked about the circle, here they talk about full circle. So ending an essay with the same scenario might prove your point. So if you're using an anecdote, which is what we've talked a little bit about introductions, I know I didn't say very much, but if you were to use an anecdote, you can use it at the beginning and the end, and it really ties both of them together. Okay, so if you're using the surrogate mother situation, you could talk about that at the beginning and at the end, and it really ties them together really well. Prediction is trying to look for the future, emphasizing. So if you're talking about teenagers should not be getting the same consequences as adults, you might want to use a negative prediction or a scary prediction that if we continue to treat to punish teenagers the same as adults, when they get out of jail, they've not been climatized to society, which will lead to the breakdown of civilization. I know that's a fallacy, it's very dramatic, but just as an example, it could be a prediction of the future that if we don't make this change, we're going to see some pretty bad things happen. If you sum up, you might want to amplify your point to make your point bigger, or put different perspective for setting it into a larger context. So if you're talking about commercial surrogacy, for instance, I mean, that could be one step away from putting women into a kind of a prison environment and use them just as baby makers. I know it's a very, again, very dramatic, but it's looking at it from a larger context. What does commercial surrogacy say about life and the life of women and the life of children? If you put money onto that, what is a life really, really worth? So it's looking at it from a bigger moral compass and a bigger moral stage. Okay, here's some things that you need to do. Don't write any new information. Your essay conclusion is about summarising the thesis and the statement. No new information. There are a couple of you that I know you're listening to this and you think I'm talking about you. I am talking about you, okay? No new information. Don't share personal thoughts. I don't want to hear I, me, we, in my opinion, otherwise. These are all third person. There is no reason in any of my classes for you to use I when writing an academic essay. Don't just restate all of the details. They've actually just read the entire paragraph. So you're summarising those details, but you're putting it a little bit of a different spin. As you can see from this and this and this proves my point. So you don't want to be repetitive in your essay, in your conclusion rather. Don't just restate the thesis statement. You need to change to show that your ideas are actually sophisticated, that you understand the whole purpose of your essay. And don't write words like in conclusion or long story short or in a word. Please don't use in a word. I've only ever seen that since I've been in China. So your essay needs a conclusion to drive the main points and give an understanding of why it really matters. So writing a strong concluding sentence might be challenging, but a clear structure will give you a really good idea. So hopefully this information has been helpful for you today. The other thing that I wanted to show you were just a couple of examples that I've picked out for you. Here are some good conclusion examples, okay? So these are actual examples that students have written. I've chosen these three in particular because I think they've got some association to some of the essays that you're writing at the moment. So the first one is, although they've written in conclusion, although it's easy to see why allowing an elementary school child to have a cell phone would be convenient for after school pickups or arranging play dates with friends, there is too much evidence to show that it's generally not a good idea. Okay, so we've got her thesis statement straight there. Children already have a lot of access to media, so there's probably one paragraph about that. Parents' responsibility to monitor access is very different. Another paragraph is likely to have been about cyberbullying. And finally, she's ended with a nice hard-hitting, clearly. Okay, so using the word clearly is like, well, as you can see, I've now just proven to you. So by saying clearly, she's saying you need to agree with me. Elementary school age children are not emotionally mature enough to handle the responsibility of a smartphone, and the borrowing of a parent's cell phone should be highly monitored to ensure safe and healthy usage. I'm sure many of you disagree with that, but it's actually a really strong conclusion. Okay. I won't read all of them to you. I'm sure that you're able to do that. So I'll just hover so you can pause the video if you want to have a look. And then for essay 8, which is quite interesting, hover and pause if you want to have a look at that. Okay, so what we've done today is looked at how to write a strong conclusion. In terms of homework, the only homework that I have for you is for you to continue drafting your essay and keeping this in mind when you're writing your conclusion. Those of you that have written drafts for me, as we're going through this information, if you do really want to redraft before I have an opportunity to get yours back to you, that's absolutely fine. I'm happy if you feel like you can make some improvements based on the information that you see in these pre-recorded videos. Other than that, I think that brings us to about 25 minutes of our class, or 20 minutes of our class today. As usual, always available on WeChat. Feel free to send me an email if you wish, and here to support and help you in whatever way that I can. I hope this class has been useful for you today. Wishing you all very, very well, and I hope to see you sooner than later. Okay, goodbye for now.